Hey, folks, just a friendly reminder that all shows on the Madness Comic Network are produced by their individual hosts and in no way reflect the opinions of the network as a whole. The statements in the following broadcast are not necessarily the opinions of the Madness Comic Network, its staff, sponsors, or contributors. This show is rated TVMA, as are all of them and all those other letters. Viewer discretion is highly advised, and, just do what Doc says. Read that again. Peace, everybody.
Dragon's flight, a psychic sword cuts through the night, a fiery heart standing ready to fight. Southern nights, they rise and soar. God in the south, yeah, they're ready to roar. From the shadows to the shining lights, that they'll protect you day and night. Southern nights. In a world where terrors creep, monsters need their beauty sleep. Dr. Black with steady hand heals the beasts across the land. Vampires and creatures of the night find their savior in Black's light. No more horror guaranteed, thanks to Monster MD. Clearing streams in stables cold and gray, shadows dance while horses softly neigh. He tells the creatures in the barn each night that one day he'll wear armor shining bright. From dawn to dusk he works with honest hand, feeding mares and working on the land. But he has his heart set on the table round to join the knights who bravely serve the crown. With a sword and shield he'll join the fight, prove his worth before it's Christmas night. He'll show them all as he sets out on his quest, a gift to himself, a night before Christmas. With a sword and shield he'll join the fight, prove his worth before it's Christmas night. He'll show them all as he sets out on his quest, a gift to himself, a night before Christmas. But chivalry demands self-sacrifice, and when folks need help, this boy does not think twice. He meets the need, though it cost him his dream. But maybe things are more than they seem. With a sword and shield he'll join the fight, prove his worth before it's Christmas night. He'll show them all as he sets out on his quest, a gift to himself a night before Christmas.
Yes, A Night Before Christmas. It is a real book, folks. You don't have to order it. Yeah, look at the way the light glares on that. Isn't that lovely? Um, this is prime time television here, folks. So yeah, hit up Amazon, hit up Walmart, whatever bookstore is your preference. You can always go to criticalblast.com, hit the bookstore tab there, get it a little bit cheaper because hey, no middleman involved. But tonight we are going to go back to what we do best, which is promoting comics, and we're going to be talking with none other than Brian Menard from Dojo Kun. How's things in the dojo, Mister?
Hey, it's going well. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Glad to have you here. Anytime. You've got quite the cadre of titles under your belt there. So,
yeah, this is number 15.
I feel exhausted for you.
It is a lot of work, but it's a work of passion, so it's definitely worth it.
So let me I'm going to bring the project up right now that we're talking about, which is Dojo Kun Chronicles, and lead us into here because I'm seeing a lot of covers. I don't know if they're all multiple covers of the same thing or if it's a collection.
Okay.
Tell us what Dojo Kun comics. You've told me before. I know.
Yes.
But we always have new watchers. So what is this weird name for a comic company that doesn't sound English at all?
That's right. It's not English. It's Japanese. Dojo Kun are the 5 rules of the karate dojo. Been a karateka for years and wanted to honor that by, naming the company after it. It's got those 5 tenets, and I think that they're probably worthy of following whether you're in martial arts or not. So definitely went with that. And the Dojo Kun Chronicles is an anthology of, it's 9 chapters. And it's got 13 new superheroes and a number of new supervillains. And it is chapters ranging anywhere from 3 pages all the way up to 16 pages. So it's in intro and origin stories. And in a couple of cases, it's a second chapter. For example, Scarlet Archer, which you see on that cover on the far left there, he's at the bottom in the middle. We'll take a closer look at him. But his first appearance was in Might Mist and the Scarlet Archer #1, which has been out for quite a while. So this is his second chapter in Dojo Kun Chronicles. So to answer your question, in fact, if you don't mind, I can play the trailer and it'll answer a couple of questions.
Yes,
right from
please
the
do.
start. Okay.
I'll give you the full screen thing here.
All right, let's do that.
Dojo Kun Chronicles is a 100-page compilation of origin stories for 13 different superheroes from Dojo Kun Comics. Bot 42, Lone Shark, Wisecracker, Sparrow, and many more. Many creative talents came together to chronicle these stories, including main cover artist Eric Nieltowski, with colorist Matt Yackey, the XX chromosome cover by artist Stefani Renee, and colorist Chris Leithwood, and the XY chromosome cover by artist Elliot Rodriguez, also colored by Chris. Deanna, Hammer of the Angels #1 will also be available, with catch-up tiers to get Siamese and Projectile Reptile. Help make it happen for Dojo Kun Comics.
All right, so like it said, that is, it has the covers and it's, let me just refresh this so that the covers come back up. Okay, so yeah,
I love
the main
Lone Shark.
cover.
That was like, how has Lone Shark not been a thing before?
I know, right? I was like, this is awesome. I'm glad that there's not one out there. So yeah, these 3 covers on the top are the main cover on the far left, and then the 2 variant covers for that comic book, which is 100 pages. It's full color, and it is 100% complete already. So that I think is an important factor in somebody backing with confidence in that, it's complete. All that remains to be done is to receive the money from Indiegogo once we fund and get it to the printer. So I just have to do a pre-press file and off it goes. Deanna, Hammer of the Angels is a supplemental book. It's 22 pages, full color. That one is also 100% complete and ready to go. And then Siamese and Projectile Reptile are 2 previous campaigns that I both had funded and fulfilled. And this is an opportunity to catch up tier. Now, Projectile Reptile on the right there, cover is by Peter Orchard, a co-host of mine on Incendiary back when we were doing that show. And this was like cover D, but I think only 3 people availed themselves of that cover. And I think it's just too good a cover not to get out there. And
It's a
then
good looking cover.
Pardon?
It's a good looking cover. I mean, Projectile Reptile, that was last time you were here, that was the project we were talking about.
That's right. Yep. It did end up funding. I fulfilled the book. It's out there. And so far, everybody who's read it has given me positive reviews. So, I'm very happy that not only did they have it and read it, but they were pleased with it. And then Siamese was the very first crowdfunder I did. That was back in 2021. And that one was a trade paperback of a 4-issue miniseries that I had done. It was the first comics that I had written. And that one was funded within 3 days. This one here is a brand new cover. It's by Dan Dahl, aka Booty Juice, as you can see with one of the two gals there on the right.
Yes.
And I think that he did a great job. And also, too, for those of you, if you did sign up before we launched, if you signed up and you're a backer of a physical tier, you're going to get a free trading card by Dan Dahl, but it's of Deanna Hammer of the Angels in a demonized form. Sort of like when Venom takes over someone.
Okay.
So, yeah. So
we got to get Booty Juice and Boob Dan to do a cover together.
Right. And they're both named Dan. What are the chances of that?
Yeah. Yeah, I Siamese, I've got that one. In fact, I got the one that came with the challenge coin.
Yes.
Hefty
Those
little
challenge coins were awesome, weren't they?
Yeah, and I love the art in that, but I'm gonna address it because I've never heard you answer it before. There was some pretty controversial stuff in Siamese, and I've never heard you talk about it or talk. I'm sure you've probably had to tweet to people about it, but I don't read everything. I can't.
Right.
What was going on there was with that kind of, and you know what I'm talking about, right?
I do. Yeah. There's two things that were factors that people talked about. Number one, there was one panel of nudity, and she was actually putting her clothes on at that point. So the implication was that something went on between them, but it was only an implication. There was nothing, I'll call it, on screen. There will be none in my books of any of that on screen. That's gratuitous. But to imply it, I think, is okay. An adult would understand the implication. Anybody else, I guess, wouldn't.
But being that it's an implication, was it a misleading implication or was it a direct implication?
No, it was a direct implication.
And for people who don't know the series, they're sisters, right?
They are. They're twins.
Okay, so that's a bit kinky for a comic story, but again, not on screen. You had to make the connection yourself. That's
right. Yeah, it's all in your imagination. Okay. Again, it was only implied through innuendo.
Like Scott McCloud says, we write 90%, of what's actually happening in a comic in our head.
There you go. Yep, that's right. And sometimes, that you can get away with that if you're changing from one scene to another. You leave it up to the reader to determine what happened between those two scenes.
Exactly. It's just, I had not seen that in a comic before. I wasn't sure how it was going to develop their characters into future issues. So we'll just have to watch and see. But are they going to be part of the Chronicles? I mean, are they going to have new stories in this?
Well, they're not in the Dojo Chronicles, but some of their activities and all that relate to this because it's a continuous and connected superhero universe. So as you can see, they appear here on the XX chromosome cover. This is them on the left there. And the leader of the team that will eventually form from all of these superheroes is Deanna Hammer of the Angels, and she's also prominently featured on the XX chromosome cover. A little bit more.
That would make a great T-shirt.
Yeah, heck, actually it would. The XY chromosome cover is right here. And I had a contest going at the beginning of the campaign when we launched. And I asked those people who were watching, if you can identify what seems to be an error on this campaign and tell me why it is not an error, then you get a free copy of Deanna Hammer of the Angels. And for those of you who are familiar with Genuine Comics, Dave Brink, the creator of Genuine Comics, was the first person to correctly answer that. And he identified that the XY chromosome cover featured Sparrow, who would, by all appearances, have XX chromosomes, right? Now, he's either that's actually a guy. Nope, that's not it. Or, and this is the part that's correct, he had heard me on a previous stream talking about how she started out as a kleptomaniac and was granted powers magically to become uncatchable. So she could really ramp up her thieving skills. And she actually stole the position on the cover from the original Sparrow. And for Dave Brink to catch that quickly, I'm super impressed. So, kudos to Dave for that. That was pretty clever.
So she stole the position on I like it. It's very meta.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's almost like she knew that was going to be a cover.
So how big is this book going to be entirely? I mean, I know there's several chapters of different varying lengths, but how big of a brick are people getting for their money?
This is 100 pages.
That's a big brick.
It's big. Yes, there was a lot of work put into this. I got some amazing covers here. So the first one is a great get because the art is by Eric Ninoltowski, like the trailer said, and colorist Matt Yackey. So that really makes this cover, special and very professionally done. Now, this cover, I was very fortunate to get Stefani Renee to do the art for this cover. Stefani has bowed out of the scene for quite a while. He's not doing well with his health, which is no secret. I'm not doxing anything. He's been saying that for quite a while. So for me to grab this could potentially be the last cover he does. That's how poorly he's doing. So I was very fortunate to have him agree to do this. And then the colorist on this one is Chris Leithwood, who did the colors for Projectile Reptile. Then this cover is by Elliot Rodriguez. He and I have been working together quite a bit. I've been editing for him recently. He's got a book coming out. I don't know how soon, but it's called Ominous. And I did the editing on Ominous for him. And he does a lot of work for me. He did this cover, and then Chris Leithwood also colored this one. I do feature on the campaign some interior art. So here's Bot 42. That stands for Biometric Organ Transplant. So the bot unit is meant to be an organ transplant unit to race an organ from one place to another across town, ignoring traffic. He can just run around it, jump over cars, etc. But something goes awry in the program, and the creator of the program gets killed right at the very beginning. So this isn't too spoilery. She gets killed right at the very beginning, and something happens to her husband as well. And that's what gets them involved in Bot 42. And then here's some art of the bot unit going crazy and attacking somebody. And then running off into the woods. In addition to that chapter, there's Dr. Primordial in his first chapter called Primordial Tales. He is an ancient sorcerer. So this is him facing Varanigan. Sakura, which is Japanese for cherry blossom. She faces off against an ancient mythological creature called the Tengu, which is this avian creature you see on the left there. And then Wisecracker is my street level vigilante, dressed as a clown, as you can see up here. Let me go back up. He fights with truncheons, and he would be like my the Question or
truncheons. Those are kind of like bowling pins that you hold.
Well, they're kind of like little cricket bats.
Okay, yeah.
Where'd it go? Oh, there it is.
think Nightwing, people.
Yeah, almost like those. Yep. Below that, I've got Sovereign, Sparrow, and H2O. So Sovereign is a sort of like a Superman knockoff. His story is a bit different, though. He's sent to Earth to prepare us for conquest. He lands in Venezuela, and here he is meeting the people of Venezuela and the army of Venezuela. So, things take off from there. And I think that the art here, the artist is Eric Kearney from the UK. And I'm getting a little bit of a Mobius vibe out of this one. So I asked the colorist, who is Irene Krieger from Russia, if she could try to emulate the books by Mobius. And I think she did a great job. Halfway through, though, working with me, I couldn't pay Irene anymore because you cannot send money to Russia.
Right. Got
so
cut off.
I had to get someone to do the last 2 pages of the chapter because she just couldn't anymore. And it's no fault of hers, that's for sure. We were still set to work together, but she couldn't continue. And her husband, Maximum Mel, was the letterer on that same thing and for the same reason. I had to get another letterer to finish that up because he too is in
We're back up again in February.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, so Sparrow, you'll see here, she meets what's called a djinn. We call it genie here in America, but it's a djinn. And this djinn grants her the power to be uncatchable. So it's of mystic origin. Sort of like, Juggernaut got the ruby gem of Sidorak and became that
so
hulking.
Unstoppable.
Right. So she's uncatchable. And then these two gals here are shapeshifter mutants who can, their actual form is this gold and purple skin. They can change to look like Caucasians, and they can change to be mermaids. So they call themselves Halia and Undine, after some of the mythological goddesses of the ocean. And because it's H and O, and there's two of them, they're known as H2O. Skin swap.
When you say shapeshifters, is that like their limitation of shapeshifting? Is skin color and tails?
That's right.
Okay.
These are their three forms. They can look like we do, as far as skin color. They can look at their, they can look like their regular natural form, which is this here on the left, or they can adapt to that mermaid shape. Loan shark.
That actually makes much more sense for a shapeshifter than to just be like, form of whatever I think of at the time.
that does seem kind of OP, yeah. And I like the character of Mystique, but it always bothered me that she could change into anyone and all of their clothing.
Yes.
Like
how that was more the censor boards that made that happen.
I guess so, yeah. But I mean, even in the comics, they, it must have been approved by the comics board authority or something.
Yeah, technically, she was naked in all those comics you read, folks.
Yeah, didn't even know it. Yep. So Loan Shark is the aquatic superhero, like my answer to Namor or Aquaman, et cetera, et cetera. He too has a chip on his shoulder, just like Namor does. And he has a legitimate beef with the surface world. Skin, Swat, and Swift, they are in armor. So, pardon me, the character of Sovereign hires them to don these suits and become superheroes. And what he does is he goes out and he finds the people best suited to wear each of these suits of armor. So the story goes that he hires them. They're surprised by the amount he's willing to pay them. And they're like, heck yeah, give me that suit. They become superheroines. And then Scarlet Archer, like I said a little while ago, he is in his second chapter here facing his first supervillain, the Electric Eye.
That's very golden age.
Yes.
Which we need more of.
Yes, that's what I'm going for. In fact, last night on John's Longbox show, we talked about Blue Sky Comics when heroes were heroic, not questionable, anti-heroes. Are they good? Are they bad? No, heroes are heroes. And that we both are trying to write stories just like that. We're trying to emulate the stories we grew up with in basically in the 80s, like Marv Wolfman's Teen Titans and Chris Claremont's early X-Men. Here's a close-up look of Deanna Hammer of the Angels, the cover.
That's very nice art.
It is, yeah. The artist's name, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's Rihuyat from India.
Again, that's nothing that would look great on a T-shirt or as your corner box art for the rest of the series. Really
good call there. Yeah, that really would. And then here's close-up looks of the catch-up tier. These are add-ons, just like Deanna Hammer of the Angels is. This is Siamese, it's a significant book too. I think it was over 100 pages. I think this one was like 120 pages because it's got 4 issues in it, plus a gallery. And Projectile Reptile was 48 pages. And then also available as add-ons are these 2 ash cans that I had previously published. Meanwhile was released with Siamese. They are featured prominently on the cover. And this is an homage to an old John Byrne cover with Dr. Doom on one of the covers he did. And then he mocked his own work and did Darkseid on a cover that looked just like this. So I've got
the Legends cover.
Yeah, that was Legends. You're right. Yep. I got Siamese, Breathtaker, and Brickhouse facing off against the Doberman gang here. And then on the right, Bog was the ash can that was released with Projectile Reptile about an alien who's an alien force comes to his alien planet to try to with an incursion, and he makes it clear in no uncertain terms that they're not welcome. And then also available as an add-on is this. It's going to be a sheet of all of these chibi stickers.
Yes, sheets. You can get those now, people. You don't have to get the, and you can. I don't know where you get yours, but I know Sticker Mule started offering sheets with the trace cut. So it's not like you got to take your scissors and cut it out of a sheet that you put in your own color printer.
Yeah. Each of these will be die-cut stickers. You'll be able to just take Bot 42 off and put it on your PC. You can put Wisecracker on your folder, anything like that. All of these stickers will be die-cut individually.
Very nice. They're very professional, too.
Oh, thank you. And then lastly, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, I do have a couple stretch goals, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little worried about this campaign.
I was going to talk about that. Yeah.
We're 9 days left in the first 15 and only 12% funded. I got a few backers over the last couple of days that have bumped that up. When I launched on Michael Bancroft's show, I only got 2 backers that first night. So yeah, that was a little discouraging, but this is a passion project. So I'm hitting the bricks. I'm getting out there talking about this. This is superheroes like you remember them back before the woke agenda took over. And, it's going to be a connected superhero universe. They're going to relate to all of the books that I've done before. I've been publishing comic books now for 10 years. This is my 15th comic book. You can go to dojokun.wixsite.com/dojokun and you can see all of those. They are available. All of the ones I did before I got into crowdfunding are available print to order. So you can get the Siamese books. You can get Night Mist and the Scarlet Archer #1, The Loved Ones, which was 100 pages of black and white horror that I wrote. And Dave Whalen did the art on that from Right-Handed Comics. Sorry, Correct-Handed Comics.
Correct-Handed Comics, yes.
Correct-Handed Comics, because he's a lefty.
So, because you've always funded before, not with much problem that I recall.
Yeah, Siamese funded within 3 days, and Projectile Reptile took about 15 to 16 days. I think it was 16, and that one funded. This one here, I'm not sure if it's the economy, if I've fallen out of favor. I don't know. I appreciate the people who are giving it support and who have been, even if they're not backing it, the people who have been retweeting it and talking about it and talking about the art inside. I appreciate every bit of it. But yeah, I think there's still a chance. I'm going to go ahead and extend it to another 30 days if it doesn't fund in the next 9, which is...
It's Indiegogo. You can do that. It's not like Kickstarter where it's like, well, you're done.
Yep. So I'll extend it once more for 30 more days, and then Indiegogo says you are done. So, yeah, I'm hoping to get there. I'll know on Christmas Eve because we launched on October 25th. So 60 days later will be Christmas Eve.
I don't know when the worst time to launch is and the best time to launch is. Thankfully, I don't have to launch these things. But you hear things like, well, why would you launch, in the Christmas season when everybody's, buying stuff? I'm like, my answer is, because everybody's buying stuff.
People are in the shopping mood. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but I guess maybe because it's not going to be something that would be delivered by Christmas. There's no way that's going to be there. You're going through Christmas
you're right.
Eve. You're not. You'd have to have Santa's sleigh on hand standby to just throw them all in right after the thing closed.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, that could be part of it. I'm hoping that folks will give it a chance anyway. It's the regularly priced, and let's take a look at that. The completest tier, in fact, just this morning, someone backed at the completest tier, and that includes a physical copy of all 3 covers, plus this one as a hardcover.
Oh, nice.
In addition to that, Deanna Hammer of the Angels, Siamese, Projectile Reptile, both ash cans, and the chibi stickers.
So it's the complete collection, like you.
It's the whole kit and caboodle. Yep. There is a digital tier available for those who like to have their comics in mobile devices, or they're overseas and don't want to pay for the exorbitant shipping costs. There is the main cover, soft cover at $25 by Eric Ninotowski. I kept the variants at the same price. So the XX chromosome cover by Stefani Rene is $25, and so is the XY chromosome cover by Elliot Rodriguez. And then the main cover as a hardcover. So as you can see, I kept the tiers very simple. The other things are available as add-ons, and even those aren't very complicated. There's the Deanna Hammer of the Angels. There's the Ketchup tiers with Projectile Reptile and Siamese. There's the 2 Ashcans and the Chibi. That's
They're not
it.
very expensive either. I mean,
no, I tried to keep everything reasonable because I really, this is, like I said, this is a passion project for me. I'm not a professional that came to the indie scene after 30 years in the industry. I'm a fraud examiner, an internal auditor, an anti-money laundering specialist. So this isn't a job to me. This is a passion project. This is a hobby. This is something I love to do. If all I did was break even every time, I'd keep doing it because I love doing it so much. I've written so many stories.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Yeah, that's right. I remember you've talked about in the past, what your real job is.
Right.
And you're saying it now. I'm like, I just started binging Ozark for the 3rd time today, and I'm like, now I'm thinking, did you watch Ozark? Is that something that you can like say, yeah, or is it more of a that couldn't happen? You can't pull that off.
I would say they took a little bit of dramatic license.
Okay.
But I mean, some people make attempts like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's one of those things where when you see a fantasy movie that just happens to center around whatever your expertise is. It's like when I'm an IT guy and I was doing computers even in the 80s. So
Mm-hmm.
we're watching things like war games. And we're like, okay, how is that analog modem hanging up to dial the next number? It's not physically possible.
Yeah, you're supposed to overlook the little things like that. Just today I was on a long drive and I drive a 5-speed. And it occurred to me that as you watch movies like The Transporter or Fast and the Furious, and they keep showing Jason Statham's character doing amazing things. And what they do is they zero in on his feet, pushing the clutch and the gas and the brake. And it's like, that's really not that special.
No.
I mean, I do that all the way to where I'm going.
and they're always shifting. There's always one more gear you can get into.
Yeah, right. Yeah, or they can downshift at just the right time to, I don't know. Sometimes they really sensationalize just the work of driving a stick shift.
Well, they're going really, really fast.
So yeah, you're right. When I see stuff that revolves around my subject matter expertise, it's like, okay, just be entertained. Just be entertained. It's cool. It's fine.
Yeah, because I think when it comes to anti-money laundering, can you enjoy shows like Breaking Bad?
Right. No, it's just I sit there, I keep saying to myself, it's job security. It's job security. If they keep doing that kind of crap, I keep trying to catch them.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I am a data scientist, IT person, but I've also worked for banks, and I work for one now, and they shared this thing in our internal communications, where TikTokers, God bless them, had discovered a life hack where you could deposit a check at an ATM for an ungodly amount of money and withdraw an ungodly amount of money right away. And we're like, yeah, that's called check fraud.
Well, not only is that check fraud, but you would not be able to withdraw an ungodly amount of money right away from an ATM machine because it's got limits.
It's got limits, yeah.
It's like a $500 limit. So that's the most you could get away with. Doesn't matter how much you write the check for. And then they'll come after you because there's all sorts of security. There's cameras. I mean.
Yeah, it was funny that that was when we started getting the chuckles, because it was like,
yeah,
they're coming after us for this life hack. It's like, no, it's not a life hack. That's fraud.
Speaking of fraud, just earlier this year, I presented to the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, and my topic was fraud and money laundering in the comic book industry. So I did that for about an hour. I didn't say any names in particular, so nobody get worried about that. But I talked about the opportunities that people have to money launder with comics. And a lot of the people there were saying, well, this doesn't have to do with my day job. And I said, no, it really shouldn't. I mean, none of you work in the comic book industry, but what this does is it opens your eyes to think outside the box. Fraud can happen pretty much anywhere. And with money laundering, for a lot of years, criminals, particularly the mafia, have been using fine art to launder their money. Well, comic books are reaching the realm of $3, $5, $6 million. So we're seeing that happening, or we're seeing the potential for that to happen a lot. Recently, there was a comic book that sold in November for $3,250,000. Well, it then resold in April for $3,500,000. Now, I'm not saying that was money laundering, but not only would that be a great rate of return for $250,000 after just a few months, but was that book really valued at that amount, or did they rack up the bid to 3.25 or 3.5 million to then legitimize their ill-gotten gains? So, that was a fun presentation to give. I had all sorts of slides with comic book covers and things like that. And I also talked about the fraudulent campaigns that people were putting up on Kickstarter. They were doing what's called a clone. And the first one I noticed was Vinny Tartamella's Shadow of the Kraken. When I turned into his channel one day, he was just ranting and cursing. And I'm like, dude, what's the matter? So he talked about this campaign that was put up on Kickstarter. It was just a total copy paste. They didn't even take his name off of it. And they took full credit for it. And they actually started to make money on Kickstarter. Well, I contacted Kickstarter on his behalf and said, you need to take that down. It's a fraud. And they said, it doesn't violate our terms of service. I'm like, what? So I said, you've got to take it down. I've brought it to your attention. I'm a fraud examiner. I'm sort of obliged to bring it to your attention now that I know that it's a fraud in existence. And they would not. So I said, all right, well, they said, do what you got to do. And I said, done. So I contacted the Federal Trade Commission. Now, here's the thing. I really didn't think they were going to do anything with it because the money had not been taken from anyone yet. And it was like $5,000 at the time. If it was left to run rampant, it could have made a lot more because Vinny's book is really good. But the Federal Trade Commission must have been having a slow day or something because they jumped on it. They contacted Kickstarter and said, you need to take this down. And it was down in 3 hours. So I'm not saying I did anything super special. I just brought it to their attention. And it was great that the Federal Trade Commission did something about it because I didn't expect that they would.
It seems like anything that you bring to Kickstarter's attention is never against their terms of service. I brought up one, and I brought it up for my own reasons because I didn't like people. They had done something else on Kickstarter I didn't like, but they had full frontal nudity on their images in their Kickstarter.
Oh, and right on the campaign.
Right in the campaign.
Okay.
And just straight out right in your face. I'm like, hey guys, check out this image, this image, this image at this point, at this point, at this point. And they came back and they said, nothing in here violates our terms of service. So I copied the campaign. I copied their email. I put them both together on Twitter. I said, titties are back on the menu, boys. I put them out. Quit putting those bars up on your artwork.
Did that do anything?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I didn't care at that point. I wasn't following it. I wasn't obliged like you are as a fraud examiner to have to do anything. Like,
right. Yeah, I got to be careful. If I'm notified of a fraud, I need to do something, even if it's honestly ineffectual. Now, later after the Vinny Tartamella campaign, the fraudulent one was taken down off of Kickstarter. His Indiegogo campaign was legit and did very well. Aaron Lepresti faced a similar problem. And although I did not contact the Federal Trade Commission, I advised them that they should. And I think they did, and it was taken down. So, you got to watch for clones of your own work on other campaign sites and make sure that you aren't being, see, here's the harm. If that person by the way, it was in Kazakhstan, got the money for the Kickstarter campaign, I mean, there would be no money taken away from Vinny necessarily. They would get their money fraudulently. It would be ill-gotten gains. But the problem would be his reputation would be just destroyed because everyone who backed it on Kickstarter would say, hey, Vinny, where's my book? And Vinny would be like, what are you talking about? You didn't back my campaign on Indiegogo. And they would come back with, no, I backed it on Kickstarter, which wasn't his campaign. It was a clone. So his reputation would have faced significant damage, and that's really where the fraud harms him financially.
And it's fortunate that somebody else saw that and I think told him about it, because why would you go looking for your campaign where you didn't put your campaign?
Good point. Yeah, it was somebody else who was searching for it to back him because they thought it was a great book. So they tried to look for it, found it on Kickstarter, and said, wait a minute. Kazakhstan? I don't think that's where Vinny's from.
No, that was the one thing they couldn't control.
Right.
The location.
Yeah. So it was caught just by happenstance, brought to his attention, and he was livid. Don't blame him. So
with all these titles you've got here under the Dojo Coon Comics umbrella, how do you keep a schedule of writing? And not only how do you keep a schedule of writing that many titles, but how do you keep that schedule so that you can keep each title coming out in a way that none of the titles loses momentum?
Oh, I see what you're saying. A lot of them are one shots. So the Loved Ones, Night Mist and the Scarlet Archer, Toru Tales, those are all one shots. Okay. Siamese was meant to be a 4-issue miniseries, so that's complete. Now, the next book, if this funds and I'm able to fulfill it, like I say I'm going to, the next book is going to be Siamese 2, Trident's New Alliance, and that will bring the team together. So what I'll be doing is focusing all of these superheroes on one IP, and I think that will make it, reasonable as far as maintaining the titles.
So you've MCU'd your comic universe by doing like what the Marvel Cinematic Universe did, introduce one character here, there, and then slowly bring them into.
Oh yes, good point. They copied that from me.
Yeah.
So that's how it's not a monthly pace. That's for darn sure. It's just trying to get these out as soon as one is done and fulfilled, moving right on to the next one so that I at least keep the name Dojo Coon Comics out there. I was on a show called the K Manifesto Show with Dojo Coon Comics. There were 25 episodes of that. K Manifesto needed to step away from YouTubing, but he stayed on as a producer for my next show, which was called the Co-Hosts Show. There was 19 episodes of that. I did, after that, the Dojo Coon Shill Shack, where I brought on a bunch of creators and shilled their books for, I think that was 65 episodes. And then got into Incendiary, which was the show that just recently ended. Incendiary was more than just a shill show. That was like for the last half hour of the show. But the first half hour was a debate show where we would pick a hot topic or a clickbaity topic, have a fun, not meant to be taken seriously debate for the first half hour. Just a lot of fun to break the ice, get the creator to be well known by the viewers. Some of them were from all over. No niche or clique was chosen. Just if you made a great comic, I'd reach out to you and see if you'd be interested in coming on. Had some really great creators that I hadn't met before come on the show. One example, just to give you an example, we had a show called Do Women Belong in Comics? And it's kind of clickbaity because, people have some pretty strong opinions about that. But our guest that night was Carissa Grant, who is a comic book creator and female. So of course we ended up proving yes.
Pale Rider.
What's that?
Path of the Pale Rider.
I think that's one of them. Yes. That's not what she was shilling on our show that night, though. So Carissa obviously chose the side of yes, women belong in comics, and she picked one of our co-hosts to be on her team, and then the other people were supposed to argue against that. And what I said was, there are specific women who do not belong in comics, like Heather Antos, Kelly Sue DeConnick. At the time, I was against Gail Simone, but she's kind of, I don't know, she's like in and out of favor. So I don't know if she's cool right now or not. But anyway, I was saying that, certain women don't belong there, but others are absolutely welcome. And, we had a whole list. Rena Strukowski, absolutely. Yanzi and Piper. And if you want to go way back, Ann Nesenti from Marvel and Louise Simonson. So a lot of women do belong in comics. But what I'm getting at is our show with the title is usually clickbaity to get people to come in and ready to get fired up and for fun debate the topic.
Yeah. And that can be difficult because sometimes you start out fun and then somebody says that one thing.
Yeah. Well, apparently somebody once said that one thing and it created quite a kerfuffle about a year and a month ago, back in October of 2023. Things went a bit awry. So anyway, that show's done. Nobody worry about that now. I'm just now hitting the bricks, shilling Dojo-kun Chronicles, hoping to get this funded so that I can keep the company going.
Now, is this the webs after the Kickstarter, after the crowdfunders, is the website pretty much the sole funneling point for taking orders and getting books out?
Oh yes, after the crowdfunders are done, then it becomes a store opportunity. That's right.
Okay, we should talk.
I'm sorry.
I said we should talk after the show.
Oh, okay, sure.
So what's you said what's next? Siamese 2, and you said that's where the that's going to be your Avengers.
Yeah, that's the team coming together. They're going to be called Trident's New Alliance.
Okay, why are they called that? That's a strange name for a superhero team to me.
Well, Trident is the company that is their sponsor. And Trident, many years ago, brought together a team called the Alliance. And the Alliance faced some travails, and the team ended up having to disband. A few of the members died, et cetera, et cetera. So the New Alliance, they're trying to bring the band back together, but with a whole new group of heroes, with an exception, and that is that Deanna Hammer of the Angels, being an immortal, was in both the Alliance and will be convinced to lead the New Alliance.
That's interesting that they've got a sponsor, which I think makes perfect sense for superheroes. Obviously, the Vought with the boys as superhero sponsor, and but nobody does it like Booster Gold did. That was
I do remember that series. Yes, that was really something. He was definitely a product placement superhero.
Yeah, in fact, he had a team, and I forget what the team was called now, but they were a corporate sponsored team of heroes. He had Vibe's brother was part of it. I remember that. Shock. I forget.
I'm sorry.
I don't even remember. Vibe.
Vibe.
He was in the Justice League.
Yep. He was the one who had like the earthquake powers or something, right?
Yeah, he was the breakdancer. He was the Chicano breakdancer.
Yes, he was. He was in Justice League, the Justice League
years.
Great Lakes or something like that.
No, the Detroit, Justice League Detroit.
Yes, that was right. With Steel,
the Avengers had a Great Lakes Avengers.
That's right. Yeah, but the Justice League Detroit was like Steel and Martian Manhunter and Gypsy and Vibe and Vixen. Yep.
And led by Aquaman.
Kinda.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd want to swim in the Great Lakes though.
I think that's when he got the suit that had like the water pipes in it running all the time.
Okay.
So like always water under the suit.
Good for him. Yeah.
Yeah. You'd think, this is back when, weaknesses were simple things and they were always 24 hours. The ring runs out of energy in 24 hours. Aquaman can't be out of the water for more than 24 hours. It's a nice definitive line in the sand.
Right. And of
Um,
course, the peril would begin on the 23rd and 30 minutes so that he was in danger pretty quickly.
Of course, Birdman's always fighting under a cloudy sky.
Yeah.
Ultraman's always getting the little beeping thing on his chest. Okay, I better go to this thing that always works because, I'm at that point now. It's like, why don't you just start with that and then we can start a new adventure after 5 minutes.
Right.
But, we love those kind of tropes. I miss those kind of tropes, as corny as they were. Is there anything we didn't mention about this campaign that we need to bring to folks' attention before we sign off here?
I think we covered the whole thing. Like I said, the tiers are very simple. The completest collector tier is the one where you get it all. Of course, that's the featured tier because I want that to be prominent. But honestly, I tried to make it simple and affordable for everyone. And, affordable, people look at that and go, $25, that's pretty standard. But is it standard to have 100 pages for $25?
No, definitely not. That's a very good deal. For 100 pages, yeah.
Yeah. So that's my pitch. Really hope everyone gives it a chance, no matter what they say about me. You could just,
it's comics. There's somewhere there's a whisper network where that damn RJ. Can you believe he did this?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So just, give the comic a chance. Never mind if you like me or not. The comic is superheroes like they're meant to be written.
All right. Thank you for coming on the show and bringing this to us. I appreciate you, walking us through the Kickstarter and introducing us to your universe once again.
Just so everyone knows, it's Indiegogo.
Indiegogo. Don't go to the other one.
There is no Kickstarter.
There's no Kickstarter. There's no Fund My Comic, or
not,
is that
not at this time? No. If this one funds, I'll consider taking it to Fund My Comic.
All right. Everybody in the chat, thank you guys so much for being here tonight. We don't have a show without you. We're just a podcast falling in the woods otherwise. So we're happy that you're here. And, of course, while you were here, as always, we just hope you had a blast.
Awesome. Thanks again.